Hello there, and welcome to the Abundance Health Podcast, a podcast where we talk about everything there is to learn and to know about what it truly means to have life and life in abundance. My name is Sharon Chabai, and thank you so much for tuning in. Hello once again, and yes, welcome to the Abundance Health Podcast. If this is your very first time here, my good name is Sharon Chabai, and this is episode 32 of the podcast. It feels so good to be here once again. Like I always like to say, oh my days, I really love recording days. Like when I wake up in the morning and I just know today is the day I'm recording an episode. I usually feel so nice, so rejuvenated, so energized. My days. It's just a good feeling. So yeah, welcome, Karibu Sana. And like I always like to say, it is my hope and prayer that by the time you're done listening to this episode, that you will have made a decision to become a part of the Abundant Self community. So welcome, Karibu. Today we are going to be talking about what an abundance mindset looks like, and this is just a continuation of episode 31, where we talked about what a scarcity mindset looks like. Now, for those of you who are new here on the podcast, basically we talk about what it means to live an abundant and a full life. And part of that is also having a mindset shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. And in our previous episode, we were just talking about how, we have been conditioned, most if not all of us have been conditioned to live and operate from a scarcity mindset. And this has come about from, our upbringing, the kind of things we go through in life. We just find ourselves operating from a scarcity mindset. And this usually has an effect on how we lead our lives. And we're just talking about some of the things that a scarcity mindset looks like: jealousy, greed, hoarding, not letting go, and a lot of many other things. And I decided to just focus on this fully because I know there's an episode where we talked about scarcity versus abundance mindset, but I just felt like it was important for us to just speak on each of them individually or separately, because there's so much we can talk about scarcity, there's so much you can talk about abundance, and of course, because we just can't cover all that in one simple or single episode, I decided why not break them into 3 parts. So the first part was episode 31, where we were talking about scarcity mindset and what it looks like. Today is the second part, where we're going to be talking about abundance mindset and how that looks like, or how that manifests itself in real life. And then in our next episode, we're going to be talking about how to then shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. So again, like I always like to say, if you haven't listened to episode 31 yet, you can press pause right here, go back and listen to that episode, or you can listen to this episode up until the very end, and then once you're done, you can go back and listen to episode 31. So yes, today, like I said, we're talking about what an abundance mindset looks like. And really, even before you get on to today's episode, just a quick thank you to everyone who has reached out to me and just spoken to our previous episode, just sending voice notes of how scarcity has manifested itself in their lives. And it's just always interesting to hear your thoughts, to hear your feedback. So thank you. I truly appreciate you. So yeah, on to today's episode. So like we said in our previous episode, scarcity mindset is the concept of, believing that there's not enough. And abundance mindset is just quite literally the opposite of that. And my definition again is just always looking at abundance mindset is looking at life from a place of there is enough. We have everything that we need. And even the things that we do not yet have, we still have access to them. And, whereas a scarcity mindset would want to focus on the things that we do not yet have, an abundance mindset would focus on what we have and what we have access to. So that means there's always enough. Looking at the glass as, half full and not half empty. And, an abundance mindset is, of course, going to manifest itself in various ways. And, even as I was reading online, I was just seeing people talk about, how abundance mindset is about positivity and so many other things. But in this particular episode, I think I'm just going to look at abundance mindset with regards to living a full and abundant life and how that would look like in real life. And of course, we are going to be making a lot of comparisons or just referring to our previous episode where we were talking about what a scarcity mindset looks like, and now painting the picture of what the opposite of that would look like, and it being an abundance mindset. So number one, an abundance mindset looks like being a giver. And this just came so naturally for me because I was looking at, when you talked about scarcity, we're talking about when you have a scarcity mindset, you tend to not be generous or just be the kind of person who would want to hold on to things. But when you look at abundance, when you believe and understand that, there's enough, and you giving of your time, giving of your talents, giving of whatever resources that you have does not really mean that it takes away from you, then you find that you become a generous giver and a giver who gives with a cheerful heart. And it just brought me back also to that conversation of he who waters shall also be watered, and that lighting someone else's candle doesn't necessarily mean that you're putting out your own. And just going back to what the Bible says, that, to give is to receive, because often we think that, when you give, you're taking away from your pocket or you're taking away from yourself that will never be recovered. But in truth, people who give, people who are generous, people who are more open to sharing their time, their talents, their resources with the people who are around them generally never lack. And I myself, I think I have that example in my life. I have a friend who, I think just recently, I think it was just last year, I was just looking at his life and I was just like, this person is a giver. Like, he is always open to give his time, to give of his resources, to give of his ideas and wisdom, whatever it is you might want to call it. And I remember there was a time he was just speaking about it, and he said even him looking back at his life, there has never been a moment when he has actually lacked. And for me, that was just a wow moment for me, and just a testament to giving is receiving. That when you have an abundance mindset, you know that you already have enough. We already have enough. And giving of whatever it is God has given unto you doesn't necessarily mean that, you will be pouring from a cup that runs dry, but you'll be pouring from a cup that never runs dry, so to speak. Like when you're pouring into other people's life, your life is also being poured into. When you give of time, more time is being given to you. When you give of your resources, more resources are made available to you, because then it becomes, the concept of like you are able to multiply that which has been given to you, so to speak. If it's talent, if you're able to share that with the world, it's just multiplying it. And I mean, the whole concept of multiplying is just making things become more or increase in value or even in quantity, so to speak. So an abundance mindset looks like being a giver, being of service to God, to your community, and just always knowing that he who waters shall also be watered, and giving is receiving. Number 2 on abundance mindset looks like gratitude. And for me, I was looking at gratitude in the sense of just being grateful in all circumstances. When you look at a scarcity mindset, usually it's all about dwelling on the things that you do not have. dwelling on maybe if it's resources, maybe it is capacity, whatever it is you might want to call it. When you look at scarcity mindset, it really makes you to focus on the things that you do not have, that you forget that, there's so much more that you have. And when we become grateful, when we become content with that which has been made available to us, no matter how little, no matter how inadequate it might look like, then we're even able to even honor it more, if that makes sense. We're even able to even be more generous with what we have, because we know, I have been blessed enough to have this opportunity, to have this sort of mindset, to have these resources that many people might not have. And so when you become grateful, when you understand that, there's so many other people who might be quote unquote lacking of these things, then it even becomes easy for you to want to multiply the same, or to just want to be a generous giver, so to speak. So when I was looking at gratitude, I was looking at it from that point of view. I was looking at it from the place of even Paul, when he was in that place of saying that I know what it means to lack. I know what it means to have plenty. I have learned to be content in all circumstances, knowing that I can do all these things through Christ who gives me strength. And for me, it was so beautiful even reading that verse, because it was just like, so often than not, gratitude actually comes from that place of, man, I know what it means to not have these things, or I know what it means to not operate from such a privilege. I know what it means to not be able to either afford certain things, or rather I know what it means to not be able to take care of my needs in such an aspect. And so when you look at life from that perspective, then it also becomes easy for you to become grateful. It becomes easy for you to become content with what you have, knowing that actually, in truth, all these things, it's not even from your own doing. Like, it's not out of your own strength. It's not out of your own capability, but just knowing that you can do everything that you can do through him who gives you strength, and that is Christ. And it just brings me to a conversation I was having with a friend of mine not so long ago. And he was just talking to me about, how he's been able to look back at his life and, the places that, God has brought him out of, even in terms of his work, in terms of the kind of capacities that he used to have, Kitambo, and what he can actually do right now. And he was telling me that days he wakes up and he's like, do I really want to do this? But then when he looks back and remembers, the places that God has brought him out of, how he has grown in his career, how he has grown in terms of resilience and everything else that he does. And all he can say is that, you know what, God, I do not have the strength to do this. So just give me strength. Just give me the strength to get through today, to get through my work, because at the end of it all, truly, it's not by our own doing, it's not by our own capacities, it's not even by our own strengths or knowledge or wisdom, but it is all through him who has, given all these things to us. And when you look at life from that perspective, it becomes very easy to say, hey man, God, thank you. Thank you because you have given me this job, and through this job, I have grown so much in my career. I have grown so much in my way of thinking and looking at life. Thank you even for giving me this podcast, for being able to just speak what you have put in me to the world, whatever it is you might want to be grateful for, instead of just focusing on, your inadequacies or the things that you do not have or even do not yet have, but looking at the things that you have been given, essentially just counting your blessings one by one. Yeah. And then number 3, showing up. An abundance mindset looks like showing up. It could be showing up for your purpose. It could be showing up for your career. It could be showing up for your community. And I remember the reason I penned this down is because when you look at a scarcity mindset, most of the time there's that fear of failure and fear of, not putting your best foot forward, because again, you're thinking about, I do not have what it takes, or I don't think I am well able to do this task. And more often than not, sometimes you forget that these are the very things that we prayed for. Let's say, for example, it's a job. You prayed for a job and God gave it to you, but then somehow you start getting afraid and fear cripples you. And, when fear gets in, it cripples your capacity to perform. It cripples your capacity to deliver. And so having an abundance mindset looks like showing up and actually believing that you have what it takes. Because I am always of that belief that we are never given anything that we cannot handle. And if at all we are given anything that we cannot handle, it's because there's something that we are meant to learn out of it. And we're actually meant to build that capacity in the process, yeah? So having an abundance mindset looks like showing up. It doesn't matter like what you have or what you do not have. I mean, look at Moses. This man just only had a stick that he used to part the Red Sea, and these Israelites just were able to cross over to the other side. Most times it's just about showing up and walking in obedience, just understanding that, this is what I have been called to do. And I just literally need to show up. I need to get up and I just need to get this done. Not because I have what it takes. I mean, there's always going to be someone who is better than you out there. There's always going to be someone who has more resources, who has more understanding in a certain area or in that particular area that you're focusing on. But if you have been called upon to do it, then just show up. Because you know what an abundance mindset will look like? It will look like you saying, okay, I have been called to do this thing. And yes, maybe I do not have what it takes. So is there someone I can ask help from? Is there someone I can collaborate with, instead of comparing yourself with this person and saying, this person, has more money. That's why they're in a better position to do it, not me, But how about you be the one to go to them and say, hi, this thing that I need to do, I don't have the money or I don't have the capacity to do it, but I have a feeling if we join hands, if we came together, then we'd actually be able to achieve it. That is what an abundance mindset looks like. Showing up. Just show up. Having a vision, working towards it, putting in the work, because you already have an end goal in mind. And I think even the good thing about an abundance mindset is always knowing that whatever it is you're working towards, it's not really for you. It's not about you. It's not about your glorification, but it's about the effect that it has to the people that you serve. And even for me, I think I even spoke about it in our earlier episodes where I was like, there are people who have better equipment than myself, who have better voices, who are in a much better position to start a podcast and it being successful. But what I want to share with the world, no one else can do it the way I do it. And just seeing the impact that this podcast has had in the lives of so many people. What would have happened if I would have said that, there's someone else who's in a much better position to do this? Of course there is. But there's a much bigger impact, when you just have that end goal in mind and just understand the kind of goals or the kind of dreams or the kind of purposes that, God has created us and has put us on this planet for. It becomes easy to walk in obedience, to show up and to put in the work, and to even look for people to collaborate with us. Because again, it's not about you, right? It's not about how I will look through this podcast. It's about how God looks through this podcast, through my work, and just doing everything, for him and to him. Right? So when you have an abundance mindset, it becomes easy for you to show up. It becomes easy for you to collaborate. It becomes easy for you to just partner with other people. Because again, just thinking about, even there's this verse that says, how the church is made up of different parts, just like our bodies, they're made up of different parts, and each part has its own role. And if one part is not functioning properly, then the whole body, I mean, if your finger is in pain, somehow even just your whole body will just know, there's a part of our body that is in pain, and maybe you won't even be able to function the right way. So even for us, the things that God has called us to do, they will of course require other people to come and walk that journey with us, because we cannot do it alone. It's not meant to serve us, it's meant to serve other people. And I think that is something that I have prayed about, where I just pray that God blesses me so that I can become a blessing to other people. Because I know that if this podcast succeeds, for example, then maybe it would be a source of employment to someone else one day, or that it would be a source of provision to someone else in whatever way, shape, or form that might look like. So it's about how I show up for this work, knowing that it's not for me, but even as it, impacts other people, even as it changes the lives of other people, that, this is something that is going to be of use and of help to many, many generations to come. Then number 4, an abundance mindset looks like preparation, it looks like faith, it looks like patience, and it looks like perseverance. I decided to put all those 4 into one point because they sort of correlate with each other. I think a scarcity mindset looks like dwelling in whatever situation that you're in and not really being open to work towards getting to a better place, or rather, just a scarcity mindset looks like settling. Like, I don't know if you've met these people who generally have given up in life. Maybe something happened to them, or maybe a crisis happened and they've just decided that they're just going to stay there, and they're not going to even just work towards something better or work towards becoming better. They do not have any faith or any hope that, things will change. They are not patient enough to keep pressing on in whatever challenges they are going through. And they don't really have that sense of resilience or perseverance, so to speak. So when you look at preparation, I think I was looking at it from a place of seasons and just understanding that our lives are made up of seasons. Like, there's never going to be a point in time where we are stuck in a season for, I don't know, the rest of our lives. And even if it does happen, it's because we haven't taken the time to understand, okay, what is it that this season requires of me? And how do I ensure that when that moment of transition comes, that I am ready for the next season that has been prepared for me? So when it comes to having an abundance mindset, it's just knowing that I am not meant to be in this situation forever. So in as much as, yes, I am showing up every day for whatever season this is, it's showing up and still, because I think that in the process of showing up, in the process of learning, we are somehow getting prepared for the greater things that are yet to come, to whom much is given, much is expected. And you cannot be given much if even the little that you have been given, you're not able to manage it, or you're not even able to multiply it, so to speak. So you're given little, but you're just still stuck there in that little. Like that guy who he was given, I don't know how many talents, and he decided to just go bury it in the ground because he's like, hey, My master is a very cruel man. He doesn't like his resources being wasted. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hold this until he comes, and then I'm just going to give it to him as it is. But then these other guys, if you are familiar with that story, they were actually given their talent, and they went and worked on them, and they multiplied them. And when the master came back, they were even blessed with more, because he's like, yeah, whatever it is that I gave you, you were able to work on it. And because of that, then I know that you are ready to even handle so much more. Because in showing up, when you show up each and every single day for whatever it is that you have been called to do, it's sort of like a refining process that happens. And in that refining process, there's so much learning that happens. There's so much growth that happens. And your capacity is built. And in truth, you are literally just getting ready for more that is going to be given to you. It's like when you're in a job and now you're looking for a new job. And of course, there are new skills that you have learned in this job that when you go for this interview, they're saying, okay, so what have you been able to do? And you speak on the success stories, you speak on your achievements. And then they're like, okay, actually, now you are able to take up this new role, this new challenge, whether it's in a new job or just being promoted, however way you might want to look at it. So an abundance mindset looks like just being in that season of preparation, or just understanding that no matter what season you're in, you are being prepared for something else. And that is why it is important for you to show up, to keep working towards whatever goals, whatever ambitions, whatever dreams that God has put inside of you, and just working towards that purpose that God has called you to. And then one way or another, you will become ready for more and being able to handle more. And because at that moment, I think this is something about multiplication. When you have that thing of multiplying what has been given to you, even when more is being given to you, it's being given to you because the Creator understands, or the Creator trusts in you to know that you will multiply it as well. And by multiplying it, it will be able to just have a ripple effect to the people who are around you, so that it's no longer just blessing you alone, but it's blessing the people that God has put around you. Because again, it's never about us. We are not here of our own accord. Our lives do not belong to us. And even the talents and the skills and the capacities that we have been given, they do not belong to us, but they've been given to us so that we can serve God and we can serve His people. And then now faith, the confidence in what we hope for and the assurance about what we do not see. Believing that no matter what life throws our way, God has actually made a way for us. And it's not the universe, not positive thinking, not manifestation, none of that. That God, the maker of heaven and earth, has already made a way for us. And now faith is going to drive out fear. When you're in that moment, in that place of fear, maybe your fear of the future, fear of failure, fear of starting something new, faith is going to drive out that fear, because you know that you have been given everything that you need for life and for godliness. And all you just need is to know God, like your knowledge of God, that has already given you the access. It's like the key, that you have been given to access whatever it is that you need to pursue whatever it is that you need to pursue. So an abundance mindset looks like preparation, it looks like faith, and then it also looks like patience and perseverance. Because the truth of the matter is, so many things are going to be thrown at us in life. So many challenges, so many troubles. But having patience, having perseverance, just not giving up, remaining faithful to God and to your calling, and remembering what He says, that in this world you will face so many troubles, but be of good cheer because I have overcome the world. And so no matter what it is you're going through, just being patient, persevering, just having that confidence like Paul, who would say, I can do all these things through Christ who strengthens me. I can persevere. I can be patient. I can wait on the Lord, because like it's not even me. It's not even my own capacity, because us as human beings, I personally, kwanza, let me just say, mimi kama Chebai, like I do not like struggling. I do not like being in that place of, man, nateseka, kinaniram, yani I don't like it. I don't like struggling. I don't like hardship. I like when things just happen the way I want them to happen. But I mean, life is not like that. Rarely will life ever happen the way we want it to happen. But just having that mindset, having an abundance mindset, is just knowing that I need to press on. I don't need to give up, because this is not the end. When you have a scarcity mindset, it's easy for you to think this is the end. Manze, there's no moving forward. I'm done for. It will always be like this. But when you have an abundance mindset, when you know that, yes, things are tough right now, but things are not going to remain the same. I just need to be patient. I just need to persevere. And even in my patience, in my persevering, I'm still holding on to my faith. I'm still working towards my goals, my dreams, my ambitions. I'm still working towards that amazing season that I'm being called to. Yeah? And then finally, an abundance mindset looks like, I think, like I mentioned, just learning from mistakes, asking for help, and taking the necessary steps to be better, to do better, not for our own sake, but for the betterment of our communities and ultimately for the glory of God. Because a scarcity mindset will tend to dwell on our inadequacies, our shortcomings, our insufficiencies. But like when you're operating from an abundance mindset, you're looking at failure as an opportunity, and you're just in a space of, yes, I failed. Yes, I missed the mark, but I'm not going to stay here. I'm actually just going to learn from this mistake. I'm going to learn from this mistake. I'm going to learn from this shortcoming, and I'm going to be better, and I'm going to, essentially do better. And that, I think, is what an abundance mindset looks like. It's just having that forward thinking. It's just knowing that there's so much that life has to offer. In those moments when you're thinking, is life really worth living? It's reminding yourself, yes, the fact that I have breath in my lungs, it means life is worth living. It means there is something that I have been called to do. And if I'm not dead, it means my time is not yet done. It means I still have an assignment. It means there's still something that I have to offer the world. And just operating from that mindset alone helps us to live a full life. Because I think I even mentioned this in a particular episode where I was saying, you live life not always looking over your shoulder, looking at, hey, what if I fail? What if this doesn't work out? But you live life knowing that you're going to get opportunities to redeem yourself. You're going to get opportunities to grow. You're going to get opportunities to improve on your mindset, improve on your worldview, improve on, if it's collaboration, collaborating with others, serving others. You're always going to get opportunity to just give, to serve, to walk, or to live a life that is worthy of the calling that has been placed in you, so to speak. And that essentially will help you to live a full life. And that's just about it. So like we've said, an abundance mindset, number one, looks like being a giver, being of service. It looks like gratitude. It looks like showing up. It looks like preparation, faith, patience, and perseverance. And it just looks like learning from mistakes, asking for help, and taking the necessary steps to be better, do better, again, not for your own sake, but for the betterment of our communities, our societies, and ultimately for the glory of God. Yeah, so that is just about it for today's episode. In the next episode, like I said, we are going to be talking about how to shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, and that will be the final part of our 3-part series on scarcity versus abundance. And I truly hope that this series is adding value to you, and is even adding value to those who you're sharing this episode with. So yeah, if you believe that there's anyone who just needs to listen to this message, or just listen to what an abundance mindset looks like, then please do go ahead and share this episode with them. You can also just pick my mind, or rather just let me know, what does an abundance mindset look like to you? What do you think I might have left out? Do feel free to reach out to us on our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, on Instagram, and on X. I think our most active social media platform at the moment is Instagram, and our WhatsApp channel as well. I have left a link to all that in the description notes. Be sure to also rate, follow, and subscribe to us on all our podcast streaming platforms. We are available on all the streaming platforms, including recently YouTube. So feel free to rate, follow, and subscribe. And we are currently also working on our website, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, if you'd like to actually learn more about scarcity versus abundance, I think we talked about that in episode 3 or 4 during the very first episode here on the podcast. I have left a link to that as well in the show notes. And if you like what we do here on the podcast, feel free to support us using our till number, which is on the show notes. And just a big thank you to all those who have done so. I mean, it means a lot to us. It means a great deal to us. Thank you so much. And you can also support us by purchasing our merchandise. Again, you can place your orders through the WhatsApp number that we have left in the show notes, or rather, if you want more insight on what merchandise you can get, then feel free to reach out to us on our WhatsApp number. Yeah, I think that's just about it for today's episode. Like I always like to say, if you remember nothing else from today's episode, I hope you remember that you have been called to have life, and life in abundance, and that I am rooting for you. Do have a blessed April. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.